Hello everyone, this video is for Module 9. Module 9 is the first module where you will turn in one of your poems. And so we're starting with the mimicry poem in Module 9. Just as a reminder, you can complete the poems in any order, but I do recommend starting with the mimicry poem just because I think it is one of the easier poems to get started with if you are not as familiar with writing poetry. So you can see that in this module, you have some information about mimicry, the mimicry poem assignment, and then you're submitting the poem and you're doing the self-assessment quiz. So mimicry is imitation. And the idea is that you take an original and you create a poem that looks similar, but has a different type of subject. And so typically a mimicry will do essentially the opposite type of subject. So if you have something that's serious, you will make it humorous. If you have something that's humorous, you will make it serious. And the idea is that you follow the original's like line length, stanza length, that kind of thing. So it looks similar on the page as well as being an imitation of it, but with a completely different subject. And so the way to think of it is probably the easiest way to do this is just to do a parody of something. So I have this example in here of Weird Al Yankovic's performance is a parody of Born This Way. And so Weird Al Yankovic has a lot of parodies, and you can look at other ones, and there are some other examples here too of different ways to approach doing an imitation poem. So your task is to pick a poem and then do an imitation of it. I would recommend picking a shorter poem just so you don't feel too overwhelmed, but if you do have a really long poem or a song, because you can do a song as well, that's fine. You don't feel like you have to do the whole thing, particularly if you have like a chorus that keeps repeating itself. Do the main chorus and then like some of the main lines in the rest of the song, but you don't need to do the whole thing. It needs to be the majority of it though. So we want to make sure that you are doing that correct mimicry or imitation. Again, subject should not be the same, and that's probably the biggest mistake that students make on this is they basically rewrite the poem in the same way, and you shouldn't be doing that. You should have your own subject, but you should have an imitation of it. That is, set line by line should be about the same length, and you can also, it needs to be within like the same stanzas, the same number of lines in a stanza, and that kind of thing. If the original's in a form, so if you say you pick a sonnet or something, then you would want to make sure that you follow that form for the sonnet. So the reason I start with a mimicry poem is because sometimes students don't really know where to start when they write poetry. And so if I just say, write a poem, they sometimes just get this sort of blank, I have no idea where to even begin. And so a mimicry poem allows you to look at somebody else's. It's very restricted though, because you're restricted based on what the original looks like. And so for those of you who really enjoy writing poetry, you may not enjoy writing a mimicry as much as some of the others just because you're so restricted. Then again, you may learn something new and be able to create something that you didn't expect to happen, particularly if you are really trying to do the opposite kind of topic as the original, and that can be fun to do that. So anyway, make sure that you do include the original poem in the document. You can either do it as a separate document or within the document that you turn in yours. I have to see the original to be able to see how well you did that imitation. So that's the poem you'll submit here, and then obviously once you're done with that, make sure that you do the self-assessment quiz as you have done in all of the other modules, and make sure that you are keeping up with that, and also the creative writing journal. So this video has covered module 9, and I will be doing separate videos for each module, just like I did for the short stories. If you have any questions at all, make sure that you send me an email.